This country is living on three enormous cracks in the earth. Under the streets of Manila, beneath small fishing towns facing the Pacific. Through mountain barangays in Luzon and Mindanao, there are giant fractures, silently loading with energy. No sirens, no countdown, no warning banner, across the sky just slow, invisible pressure. Every day, every year, that pressure grows. And one day, without asking permission, it will be released. Right now, under your feet. Three major fault systems are quietly deciding the future of millions of Filipinos. They don't care if you are rich or poor, in a condo or a kubo, in traffic or at church. They only obey one rule. When the rocks can no longer hold the stress, they break. When they break, everything built on top of them is suddenly on trial. In this story, there are three main characters. The West Valley Fault under Metro Manila, the deep Philippine Trench off the eastern coast, and the long Philippine Fault that runs like a scar through the entire archipelago. Any one of them, on its worst day, could erase a city in under a minute. Most people want to believe a comforting lie, that before a really big earthquake, there will be clear warnings, exact predictions, announcements with dates and times. That someone, somewhere, will go on TV and say, "Don't worry, we will tell you when it's coming." That belief feels safe. It also happens to be completely false. No scientist on Earth can look at a calendar and circle a specific day for a major quake in the Philippines. There is no December 25th at 8:30 p.m. alert coming. There is only stress building on faults and the uncertainty of when that invisible line will finally snap. The first fault lives right beside and, in some cases, directly beneath the most crowded region in the country, Metro Manila and surrounding cities. The West Valley Fault is a major strike slip. Fault slicing through Bulacan Rizal, Metro Manila, Laguna, and Cavite. It passes near or under places like Marikina, Quezon City, Pasig, Taguig, and Muntinlupa. On a hazard map, it looks like a thin red line cutting across subdivisions, roads, and rivers. In reality, it is the boundary between two massive blocks of the crust that want to move past each other, but for now are locked together like clenched teeth. Historical and geological studies suggest this fault produces very strong earthquakes, roughly every few hundred years. The last major event is believed to have happened centuries ago. That doesn't mean a big quake is guaranteed any day now, but it does mean the fault has had a long time to reload. If it ruptures in one large event, the shaking in parts of Metro Manila could be violent enough to crack and collapse concrete buildings, tear up roads, knock down bridges, and ignite fires from damaged utilities. Picture the entire megacity traffic, malls, offices, schools experiencing that level of shaking at the same time. There will be no friendly countdown. 1 second you're scrolling. The next, the room is trying to throw you to the floor. But the West Valley Fault is not the only monster. Far out to the east, beyond the coasts of Luzon and Mindanao, lies another threat that attacks from the sea, the Philippine Trench. This is not a simple surface crack, but a deep subduction zone, where one tectonic plate dives beneath another. These zones are responsible for the largest earthquakes ever recorded on the planet, events that can exceed magnitude 8 or 9 and come with tsunamis that cross oceans. For the Philippines, a major rupture along segments of this trench would deliver a double blow. Intense shaking inland and huge walls of water racing toward coastal communities. Imagine a strong quake striking pre-dawn along the eastern coast. Power fails. People wake up disoriented, stumbling out of their homes. Some head back inside to grab their phones or valuables. Others remember a simple rule they once heard. If the shaking is very strong or lasts a long time along the shore, don't wait for an official warning, move to higher ground immediately. Minutes later, the sea pulls back strangely, exposing parts of the seabed. Those who hesitated stand on the beach, confused. Those who climbed to a hill or a building's higher floors now watch in horror as the first tsunami wave slams into everything below. The trench never announces itself in advance. It simply transfers its energy from the deep ocean to the coastline. And then there is the longest shadow of all, the Philippine Fault Zone. Stretching more than 1,000 kilometers, this enormous strike-slip fault runs like a jagged scar through the country, from northern Luzon down through the Visayas and into Mindanao. Over the years, different segments of this fault have produced destructive earthquakes that literally redraw the landscape. In some places, the ground on either side of the fault has been observed to shift several meters sideways in a single event. Roads suddenly don't line up. Rice fields are offset. Even rivers take new bends. What makes the Philippine Fault so frightening is its reach. It passes near countless communities, towns, and cities where people live ordinary lives, with little idea that a powerful fault lies close by. Not every segment will break in our lifetimes, but any one of them, when it does, can level towns, trigger landslides on steep slopes, sever highways, and cut off entire provinces. In a mountain barangay, that could mean homes sliding down a hill with almost no warning, except a roar and the brief violent shake that sets it all loose. So here is the hard truth. You cannot outrun these faults. You cannot pick up the Philippines and move it away from the Pacific Ring of Fire. You cannot negotiate with the West Valley Fault, bargain with the Philippine Trench, or ask the Philippine Fault to delay. But you are not completely powerless. If earthquakes are the exam, then everything done before the shaking is your only study time. One day, somewhere in this country, a segment of one of these faults will snap again. When that happens, two Filipino families might be in the same city, under the same sky, experiencing the same earthquake. One family will crawl out of the ruins with minor injuries. The other may not survive. The difference between them will not be luck alone. It will be decisions made months or years earlier, when there was still peace and quiet, when nothing was shaking, and it was easier to forget the danger. In one home, heavy cabinets are bolted to the wall. In another, they stand tall and free above a child's bed. In one barangay, people have a routine. When the shaking stops, they know exactly which open area to go to, and who checks on the elderly. In another, neighbors spill into the street, shouting, arguing about what to do next, wasting the precious minutes that matter most near the coast. In one school, earthquake drills are treated seriously. Students know drop, cover, hold on, and have felt what it's like to move calmly. In another, drills are just for compliance, a quick formality no one thinks about afterward. Which school loses more lives on the day the fault finally moves? There is also a quiet, deadly mindset that needs to be challenged if it's God's will. Nothing we do matters. That sentence has killed many people. Respecting faith does not mean surrendering common sense. No one can control tectonic plates, but humans absolutely control how vulnerable or strong their houses are. Whether furniture is secured or not, whether emergency kits exist or are ignored, whether families ever practice what to do. Pretending to have zero control is not faith. It is giving up before the shaking even starts. The most important difference between families on that future day will not be who can afford expensive gear. It will be who has turned knowledge into reflex. When violent shaking begins, most people will not be thinking clearly. Hearts race, panic floods the brain, and instinct takes over. There are maybe 5 to 10 seconds before the shaking becomes too strong to move safely. In those few seconds, no one will be calmly researching instructions or scrolling for a tutorial. The body will simply do whatever it has practiced. That is why the single most powerful move most Filipinos still ignore is not buying something. It is practicing a drill, seriously, inside their real home. Walking through the rooms and deciding, if the shaking starts right now, where do we drop? What do we cover under? How do we protect our heads? Where do we meet after we exit the house? Then simulating a 30-second earthquake, Someone shouts Lindell, and everyone drops, covers, and holds on until the imaginary shaking stops. It feels awkward at first. People laugh. But that awkward, slightly embarrassing practice could be the difference between automatically diving under a table and freezing in place as objects fly around the room. Tonight, in one house, a family might do this for the first time. They'll move a heavy shelf. They'll take a TV off a narrow stand and secure it. They'll put a flashlight, whistle, and some water into a bag by the door. They'll agree on a safe meeting point outside. In another house, they'll just share another scary post about the big one, feel afraid for a moment, and then do nothing. On the day one of those three faults finally releases its stored energy, the shaking will feel the same in both places. But the outcome may not. The West Valley Fault under Metro Manila, the Philippine Trench off the eastern coast, the long Philippine Fault slicing down the country, these are real threats. They don't need rumors to be frightening. They are already frightening enough. They will not send messages ahead of time. They will not wait until you are ready. They will simply act when physics demands it. That reality can either paralyze you or push you. Fear that freezes you in place is your enemy. Fear that pushes you to prepare is your weapon. So as the ground stays quiet for now is the only window that truly belongs to you. The seconds during a future earthquake will not. The minutes after a tsunami warning will not. But this moment, reading or listening now, does. Use it, move one heavy cabinet, clear one exit path, pack one emergency bag, walk your family through one drill, because when the earth finally decides to move again, you won't get to negotiate with the fault. The only thing that will stand between your family and the full force of that invisible line is every small choice you made while everything was still standing still.